Hi everyone, welcome to another episode 12. Oh wow, of Inside Out with Soumya. Today we're going to be talking about PMS or premenstrual syndrome. This conversation is helpful for anyone who menstruates or people who have menstruators in their life because I think it's general and everyone needs to listen to this conversation. What we will be talking about today is a layperson's understanding about the perspective of PMS, like getting cranky or getting moody, and how that can be limiting to people who actually experience it. Another part of this conversation is going to be understanding what happens inside the mind and body of individuals, people who menstruate during this time. And we will also focus on why some individuals struggle more during this time from a yogic perspective and what can help with it. And for that, I have Yogini Mehak Gupta with me today. Hi, Mehak.
Hi, Soumya. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so looking forward to today's conversation.
Me too. So let me introduce Mehak. Mehak is a very good friend. Mehak's pronouns are she and her. And we happen to know each other for about 3, 4 plus years now, right, Mehak?
That's correct, I believe.
Yeah, let's just, yes, for a long time now. In fact, Mehak is a very passionate and skilled professional as well. She is a yoga and lifestyle coach, a fertility expert, and a PCOD educator. She has been my yoga teacher, and it was, I think, back 3, 4 years back itself. And ever since, I've become such a huge fan of her way of teaching. Like I say, becoming a yoga teacher isn't hard on paper, like you can go because of the lack of regulations, sadly, but
That's
becoming
true.
a good yoga teacher, that is something that sets Mehak apart from a lot of different professionals without demeaning anyone. Why? Because I took a class in a group setting, that too online Zoom. There was pandemic and lockdown going on. And what stood out to me, I was in awe of her attention to details, even on a Google Meet meeting or in a group of people. And of course, the clarity with which she gave instructions. Because I definitely have, I take time to soak in when someone is giving me just verbal instructions, but it felt very clear and out there to me. And I absolutely love that in her. I also know that Mehak runs specialized batches for women. And why we're using the word women, Mehak will also elaborate on in a while. She focuses on women surrounding their concerns and also to empower them. I keep looking at the different batches she entertains and the people she kind of works with. And it's so, it makes me happy because a lot of times women's issues and concerns are pushed to the side. And it's just now a lot of importance is being given to it. I'm glad that you are one of them, Mehak. And that is why I've been more excited to have this conversation on PMS with you.
I'm so flattered, I guess, right now by the words Soumya just said. But at the same time, I'm actually really grateful to meet people like you and everybody, not just in the virtual space, definitely, but in any part of the world, be it any way. And I'm actually looking forward, and this has been like a very heated topic throughout my whenever I ask people on social media, and usually when I have sessions as well, because also it's very under talked and very misinterpreted in a lot many ways,
Mhm.
and there's a very common notion of embarrassment that has been attached here. So I believe we're going to break through a few emotional unnecessary tags that are attached here and
Yeah.
make it more natural and acceptable for the society, because this is one of the most natural and very important aspect and processes of human species, I feel. Without it we won't be here. So I
Yeah.
think we'll have to get ourselves in that zone that we respect what is natural there and just be very confident and comfortable with that.
Yes. I like how you say that the some very oversimplified terms or labels that have been attached to PMS, and how now it's just chalte firte, someone will say something like, oh, it's that time of the month is coming. Okay, now you're going to become a snuggle bear or something like that. And while I'm all in for making things light, using humor or all of that, there is something that is taken away from the people who experience this when we do that. And this is not to tell someone that you're doing something right or wrong, but just to expand the landscape of your understanding about what actually happens. Maybe it helps you. Take what you need, leave what you don't want. That's what I say.
That's true.
Yeah.
As Soumya mentioned, I think before we begin, just for the all the listeners out there who are listening it and hearing it, we will be simplifying a few terms in our conversation today, but that doesn't mean we are not including anybody or we are excluding anybody from our talk today. We are talking about menstruators per se, and we might be using words like women, but that doesn't mean that if you are a woman and if you're not a woman and you still menstruate, you're not included in this conversation. We do address you here. And definitely the pronouns follow up here. We might be using at times just for the sake of understanding, also for a lot of people who, are still in the zone that they want to explore more. So pronouns, we might be just referring she or her at times. But again, we are not neglecting anybody here in this conversation. And I wish to reach as many people as we can, irrespective if you menstruate or not. This is something I feel everybody should be now thorough with, if we are okay with a lot many things going on and changing. So I believe this has to start from here. So I think jumping on to right what is happening in the bodily level and anatomical level here.
Let me rewind a little bit, Mehak. I would love to jump in. I also want the listeners to know a little bit more about your professional experience and background.
Sure. So on paper, as we said, my training has been in yoga. I've practiced Ashtanga, I've practiced Hatha, and I specialize in Hatha yoga. That's something I resonate with. I've been a Vipassana meditator, I still practice that. And yoga came in my life when I was really young, primarily because I was a very hyperactive kid then. So my parents thought that one should do this. So I was 10 when yoga came in my life. But slowly and gradually, I think my journey has been like a transition from one phase to other. When I was a kid, then I was a teenager, then became an adult, and now sort of a woman who's understanding and connecting the body in a very different level. So I think the whole experience of yoga has transitioned, and I feel that happens with every practitioner for that matter. When you start off and when you go ahead in your journey. My work primarily consists of all the menstruators around. I work with women, and I work with people who want to do more than just the physical aspect of yoga. So I work with in movement and healing space a lot. There are a lot of visualizations. There are different yogic techniques structured in a way. I take a lot of workshops where we are exploring much beyond than your physical self, and obviously using your physical self to help you heal from a lot of traumas, from a lot of hurt and a lot of baggages that get stuck in your physical self, and they create a lot of other issues and problems. So my work revolves much more towards understanding and connecting your body much more than your physical self, and seeing yourself as a union, not just of your body, seeing yourself as a union of different energies, different things, and obviously your emotions and everything. So that's what my work majorly consists of. And I think that's going to show up in my conversation here as well. Whatever I've learned through my experience in teaching, whatever I've learned through my experience as a woman so far. So I think that's going to be there in my talk today.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. In fact, one thing that I'd like to add in terms of what I really liked about you as a professional, Mehak, is how yoga can be really a lot of times when I use social media, it trickles down to just asanas, just bodily things, aise mudna hai, aise karna hai, itna karna hai, waise karna hai, headstand, a lot of that. But you, since the very start, I've noticed you focus on the body. You absolutely respect the body, the capability and the importance of including it. And yet you also go beyond that. You focus on the mind, be it through meditations, visualizations, chanting, different things that we did. And also for believers, the soul as well. So the union it's really important. I'm glad there are practitioners out there who are really bringing that element forth, not leaving that out. Yeah. I also want the listeners to know why I am so happy to have you as my guest speaker today, especially when we're talking about premenstrual syndrome. We'll be using the acronym PMS just to save some milliseconds of time and go on. I know that I was reading some statistics, I was doing research on this, and it's really noteworthy that how 90% or more women go through mild to severe symptoms or experience symptoms of PMS. And maybe 40% people, 40% women experience it from the intensity of moderate to severe. And yet, when I open Google and I enter just these three alphabets, PMS next to each other without space, the first line I read is a group of symptoms that occur in women, typically between ovulation and a period. And the second line is the cause isn't fully understood. And I'm like, is it that simple? Is it that simple that 90% of the women, and I'm just generalizing that statistic right now, it can be area, ethnicity, and everything other specific. Yet, if you pick up any region, you will find a high majority of people in women going through it. And yet we don't know a lot about it. And while I have utmost respect for modern medicine, I have also in the past years found my own solace in ancient wisdom. A lot of things that aren't what described or understood by modern medicine, the ancient wisdoms, be yoga or Ayurveda, they have certain very important elements that we can utilize in the modern era as well. So that is why I want to hear your concept about it. And how about we just start with what PMS is?
Lovely way that you described everything, and I think that's going to set our note as well now. So let's understand PMS in a very natural way, because that's something I don't want to even demonize PMS, because we have sort of thought that's a demon here. We don't want to go through PMS. Let's have another approach towards seeing this term as a very natural and comfortable term that you should not be scared of. You don't have to prepare yourself for it. It happens. It's comfortable, natural. So in our Eastern philosophy, if you want to say, we believe that female body cycle is very similar to a yearly seasonal cycle. We start off with menstruation when you're on your period. So it's compared to the season of winter. When you are, in your shell, you're wanting to sort of conserve the energy. And there's a process that is happening, which is also a cleansing process is in terms of emotions, in terms of the release that is happening. When I say cleansing, I do not refer menstrual blood as unclean, unhygienic, dirty, or anything. It's simply blood. It's simply blood. So there's nothing bad or unhygienic about menstrual blood. When I say release, it's coming more from the emotional and spiritual aspect.
Right.
So the first phase comes the menstrual cycle. Usually it will last from 5 to 7 days. At times it can go slightly up as well. At the same time, I would like to mention to our listeners that we're going to talk about menstrual cycle in a body which is not having any severe deficiency, any serious disorder, and the hormones are playing their role that they have to be without any external stimulus. We will be referring about every other disorder after we discuss it. Right. So don't think that if you're not experiencing this, there's something wrong. If there is wrong, maybe we'll figure out afterwards. And the next phase comes when you have the spring, is when you feel all energetic. It just feels so fresh because you're done with your period, you're good to go, the life feels new, and the newness comes in your life. So that's something that spring brings. When you see the spring coming and you feel like going out. Yeah. Because the weather seems good. Same happens when you enter your the second phase, which we also call follicular phase.
Okay.
Follicular phase, if I have to break it down anatomically here, so if we have cells in our ovaries, those cells are packed in different follicles. Every cycle, there's one side of the ovary which becomes active, and they release multiple follicles. From it, so they have like bunch of eggs in them. So follicular phase is when your follicle stimulating hormone is slightly going up. So your estrogen is going up. You feel energetic. You'll feel new. You feel like doing things. You're up there. Then comes our next phase, which is the summertime. And summertime is all heated time. You feel that, okay, you have that zeal, that heat in you to push like the accelerator to the maximum. You have that zeal in you. It's the same thing when you ovulate. When you ovulate, so what's happening is the follicles in one of the eggs in the follicle will start to mature. So one of them will mature as an egg to be fertilized in future. Others will die and get absorbed in the lining. So if we say that we have so many eggs, it doesn't mean we'll bleed in those all eggs. Few eggs will die and get consumed by the walls, by the fallopian tube, and there's just one egg that's gonna mature. So the ovulation phase is the time when the egg is gonna mature. Your estrogen levels reach a point which will stimulate another hormone in your pituitary gland, which is something in your brain. Let's settle with that. Your pituitary gland is gonna release another hormone which is called luteinizing hormone. So a lot of us who must have gone through a few hormonal tests, your gynecologist must have told you to get your FSH, LSH done during your menstrual cycle. So this ratio tells us, are you able to release enough hormone to reach the next stage or not? So luteinizing hormone will only be released if your estrogen level hit a certain level. If they don't hit a level, the luteinizing hormone will not be released. The luteinizing hormone will start to prepare the body. Okay, we're gonna get pregnant. So let's start preparing that. We want to get pregnant. So the ovulation phase, you as a body will also be inviting. You'll feel like you want to invite energy. That's very naturally designed because the nature wants the species to continue. So the whole aim of a menstrual cycle is to get pregnant, if I have to put it in a very raw way. When you're ovulating, you'll feel, if I have to put it in a way that you'll feel the urges, the sexual urges, definitely, because that is the time when you're fertile. That is the time when your body wants to receive. You will be open to receiving. The symptoms that you might be feeling, a lot of us...
Can you describe a little more about what you mean by inviting?
Inviting in a way that your body becomes in an acceptance mode as to you have the space, you have that bandwidth to let any kind of energy enter your bubble. So you're not having a very high resistance or very high defense, and you're not cutting from the world. You want to experience the world in ovulation cycle. And experience can boil down to not just your sexual experiences. It can also boil down to having, picking up a new hobby, picking up, putting your maximum in your workout regime or your any yoga practice or anything like that. You will feel that ability in your body that you can do a lot.
Right. Or picking up a new project at work or something like that.
Your creative energy is going to also go up at that point.
Right.
You will have that bandwidth, that clarity of thought as well to create, to innovate, to pick up something new, and you'll have that confidence. You'll feel confident in yourself. It's also a way the nature wants you as a woman, as a menstruator, to be ready to invite the energy to get pregnant. So you're preparing, the nature is making you feel confident that you can do it.
Yeah.
You can do it.
I like how you focus on other elements of life as well outside of sexual, because in the modern time, like we say, a lot of thought babies come in, right?
It's a new word for me, but okay.
So a lot of ideas that are in the nascent stage that you want to start implementing, or a lot of new hobbies, like you said, that you like to pick up and bring to life. All of those things are also another way of creating or inviting new energies, so to say, during this time.
Definitely. And that can happen in your springtime as well. I want to refer seasons here because I don't want to demonize again any of the space.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
we do that a lot.
Yeah.
And when you think that you're in line with the nature around, you will not feel like an alien in this world.
Mm-hmm.
You will not feel alone because there's nature around you with which you are harmonized and harmonized in any way, in every way.
I like that. Harmonize and harmonize.
So after you're ovulating, so we'll talk about how to check if you're ovulating or not. So there's a parameter that is called mucus tracking. So your vagina, again, is a moist space. Please don't make it dry in any way in any products. That's what I want to say, please. Vagina is a moist space and it's slightly acidic in nature. A very beautiful thing, because the body is wanting to get pregnant, the cervix, which is the entry to the uterus, will slightly lower down the acidity as well, so that it doesn't kill the sperm that comes in. And the mucus that's going to be released, so any kind of vaginal discharge is slightly watery, slippery, salivary. It's meant to let the sperm enter smoothly and not die initially, because the sperm is slightly alkaline in nature and your vagina pH is slightly on the acidic level. There's a reaction happening there as well. That's the reason a lot of sperm can't swim that higher, because they die with the acid that we have in our lining there.
Nature's contraception.
So next phase is the last, which I think the highlight for today's discussion is when you're starting to prepare to get mother. So the body doesn't know that you're getting pregnant or not, but it still wants to prepare with every cycle. The last phase is your luteal phase. Luteal phase is when the body is ready. Okay, we're going to get sperm anytime. We might have gotten the sperm right now, but it's still in the process of getting fertilized. So let's just prepare the whole environment fertile and inviting enough for the zygote to stick to the wall. There are two cases. Either you'll get pregnant, either you won't get pregnant. So if you're getting pregnant, the scenario is a very different scenario. The signal goes and the implantation happens and everything. If you don't get pregnant, let's learn what happens there. That's what exactly your PMS window lies. And I want to say it here. A lot of our textbooks are not really revised up till now. They'll refer your luteal phase as, a week phase or a 10-day phase. Same goes. So 28-day cycle is slightly outdated now. A lot of women are not having a 28-day cycle. So I do not want to, generalize that you will have it for these many days only. And if you don't have it for these many days, there's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. Every body will have its own rhythm.
Yeah.
You can track your rhythm as well. Get the awareness on your body's rhythm. Have the control over your fertility. Also be aware, okay, this is I'm in that phase. That's the reason I'm feeling this. That's the reason I'm having these symptoms. That will give you more power over where you are, how are you feeling, and how your present is looking like, rather than reaching doctors and everything. Obviously, doctors are going to help you in understanding. Relying completely on them is something that we can change now. We have our body giving very beautiful signs. Our wisdom within tells everything. We can get aware to understand it, so that we just don't keep jumping from one person to other person to give us the answers that we can't see.
Yeah, that's right. Because on the internet, it's generally that PMS happens during the ovulation, which is 1 to 2 weeks before your cycle.
It can start during so basically, when you're ovulating, your body is preparing to get the egg fertilized. It's going to start building the uterine wall as well, so that and the progesterone, which is, you can sort of blame progesterone for everything here, because progesterone does the work here. Progesterone is one of the very important hormones here, which is the which majorly controls not having any contractions. The moment you have contractions, you'll have your period.
Okay.
So the moment your ovulation happens or is about to happen, your progesterone level starts to work. The luteinizing hormone, they learned, it's gonna trigger your progesterone to start rising up. The progesterone is one responsible for not having any contraction in your uterine wall. Secondly, build the whole environment. So build the lining of the wall, which we call endometrium, where the zygote or the fertilizer is gonna stick around. The progesterone, since let's learn how to, going back to our 10th standard science here, hormones are ductless secretions of our body. So they are not released in specified ways. They are just released in the bloodstream. This is the reason the hormone released in your blood is going to travel down to every part of your body, including your brain.
Right.
It is supposed to stimulate functions in your uterus and your reproductive organs, but it will also travel down to different spaces. The progesterone is the reason when you're seeing those all troublesome symptoms in your PMS.
Oh,
okay. It's majorly this hormone. Definitely there are other hormones playing a role here as well. We can talk about hormones in the later part, but it's the progesterone majorly which is responsible to let you reach a stage to wait till the sperm fertilization is happening. If it's not happening, so this is the luteal phase where it's the autumn time of your body.
Okay.
The leaves are shedding out. You'll feel slightly lethargic. You'll feel like you don't want to engage a lot with the environment around, because there's a lot happening in the process itself.
We haven't yet reached the periods, like when we have
not reached the period. We are reaching the part just before your period, the PMS time, the premenstrual time.
Okay.
When your body is actually preparing and conserving energy to become a mother anytime. So it's also the way the body is prepared, conserving the energy that, okay, if I get pregnant, I'll have to nurture the seed right away. And the soil, the environment has to be fertile enough to let it stay and grow. We need to understand, especially when it comes to pregnancy, the body will use all the nutrients, all the energy to support and nurture the fetus. That's how we are designed. It is going to take everything. So that's the time when your body is preparing to get pregnant, and it's going to stay prepared as much as it can. So progesterone level is rising higher and higher, higher and higher. The progesterone also, along with the increase in progesterone, you'll also see a slight increase in your body temperature that starts right when you're either ovulating, right just few days, 1 or 2 days before your ovulation, or right at the time of your ovulation. It will go on till you're having your period. So the increase in temperature is also a sign that your body is in a phase that it's going, there's something happening within. It's like an engine getting started. So it's starting to do the work to support the implantation to happen. Let's learn what's happening right now. There's a slight increase in temperature, which you can also track by basal body temperature monitoring. Basically, right when you get up in the morning, if you have a digital thermometer, or you can get a thermometer specialized in this as well. We need a 2 decimal thermometer here. So you'll see a slight 0.5 or even for 0.1 increase, 0.01 increase in your temperature, body temperature, right when you get up. So that will be slightly higher than your normal. This is something which is used for fertility awareness as well, to know when you're ovulating and to know when you're not ovulating. So your body temperature is rising. If I have to interpret that in terms of you seeing signs on your bodily level, so your acne is also a sign of slightly higher body heat.
Yeah, the heat, internal heat rising.
Your heat is increasing. It has to go up so that it'll calm down when you menstruate.
Mm-hmm.
Your acne, your at times people have a lot of bloating.
Yeah.
That is just not water retention. That is also a sign of your body conserving the energy.
Okay.
Also to provide bloating, it's a very facet thing. Bloating can be also a sign of stuck energy, also a sign of baggage and emotional trauma that you're carrying. Bloating can also come from how your lifestyle is going and what you're
Mm-hmm.
eating. Bloating can also come from how your routine looks like, and if you don't have a fixed routine or a regularized routine, I would say. And obviously, if you're not doing enough of physical movement, it's going to play a role. So bloating has a multifaceted thing. You'll also hear people having acid reflux here at this point of time. Again, coming to body heat. Your body is very heated right now. A lot of people sweat a lot. It's all
And
boiling
nausea
down.
is also related to acid
Nausea
reflux.
can also be related to that. Because your body is in a phase that it's preparing for something very, very important to it. And it doesn't want to expel the energy into stuff like that. That's the reason you don't want to hear a lot from other people.
That's what I was getting at, that even when you
don't
say
want to.
Yeah, the body
Because
heat
you're not
rising.
any more inviting.
Mm.
And there's nothing bad in being that.
Window
This
has
is how
closed.
you're designed. And if you get pregnant, it's gonna aid that nurturing process. Completely your choice if you're not getting pregnant. But the body wants to prepare for it.
Yeah.
Coming to more severe symptoms of PMS here, people have pelvic pain. Pelvic is the region which supports your genitals, basically a group of muscles you can call. So pelvic pain is very common here. You'll feel a lot of leg pain. There's a back pain also coming up.
Back pain, thighs, lower abdomen.
It's gonna pain. It's just also coming from the fact that your lifestyle needs a lot of work and you need to be more aware of your body, and probably you're exerting way too much than how your body can do. I want to bring this into notice that you cannot be doing every activity the same way throughout your year cycle. You cannot be the same.
Like you beautifully brought in the seasonal aspect. So there are some things that we can't do in summer, or we don't want to, we don't feel the energy to. Some things that we can't do in winters, and some things that we can especially do during autumn or spring, all of that. So to be cognizant of that.
So I would want us to understand that, a lot of us take the pressure of equating ourselves and our ability to do stuff to other things. And we just want to prove, I don't know who again, but we want to prove. Sadly, the world is also very inclined towards a male body cycle. We have set that parameter. Okay, this is something normal. This is something optimal. If I can match that up, that I'm optimally functioning.
Yeah, Mehak, that's right, because it's almost become a race. I feel very privileged to be friends with a lot of very enlightened and beautiful women in my life. And we were recently discussing how everything that, you need to lift the same weights every day of the month. You need to perform with the same level of productivity each day of the month. That is very different for a female body when we have the ones who have uterus, because we have so many cycles going on. And that is not to say one is better or the other is worse. It's just the way nature has designed specific bodies, and to be respectful of each other. That equality and equity sort of difference is what comes in.
And I think, I don't know, like even if I look back, I might have also done this very unintentionally.
Of course, I'm also guilty. It's just as we go on, we only know as much as we know at a certain point in time.
That's true. So if I have to refer how the whole nature the whole nature has laid out both body anatomically. A male body cycle is very similar to sun. So every morning sun is going to rise up, every night sun is going to go down. It rises up with same zeal every morning. They have a 24-hour cycle. We instead are very connected to moon. Moon doesn't rise the same way every day. It has a phase. And we are very comfortable with moon's phase. Have you ever thought, okay, moon is half today, why isn't it full?
No, of
You have
course.
just accepted it. It is the way it is. Why can't we do that to ourselves? Why do we never have equated moon and sun ever in our life? Think in
No,
that direction.
Mehak, I would like to bring capitalism in everything. How can people earn if they don't force us to believe something is wrong with me?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. And other things, of course, I don't want to simplify just one level.
Definitely, patriarchy will play a big role here. I will not disagree and step back from mentioning this ever. But this is, I'm not sharing this for our general knowledge here. I'm sharing this for all our listeners to also voice out every time somebody says, I could do it, why couldn't you do it? Sorry, we are not designed the same way. You are not supposed to carry the child. You're not designed that way. So we are never equal. We can never be equal. Let's not focus on that. Let's focus on coexisting. Let's focus on codependence. Yeah. And that boils down to everything for that matter in a relationship and everything for that matter. We are designed that way. Going back to our conversation about how and what all symptoms do you experience. So we mentioned about the physical pains that you might be feeling. Then comes the fatigue. You will feel fatigued. Every day will not be a new day. So let's stop expecting us to be new day, new moon, please. Again,
I love that. I love that. New day, new moon doesn't happen. New day, new sun happens.
Yeah, so you are not sun. So please don't expect yourself to be new day, new moon.
Oh my God, I love it. Okay, you're not suns.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I will not understate, at times you will wake up with a very horrible mood. So allow yourself to be okay with that, and please don't pretend to be fine. You can, and we will talk about how you can make your environment be more accepting and comfortable about how you are experiencing, because what you're experiencing is real. It's not something that you've made in your head. It's not something that you're overthinking.
It's not. And honestly, when some people say, oh, you girls can just get away with it, I'm like, take it. Take the symptoms. You see, I would rather do all the work than experience sometimes the symptoms that can get so debilitating that it interferes with my personal, professional, and interpersonal life.
That's quite true. That's quite true. And coming to how your energy in your luteal phase, when you're PMSing, that's one of the reasons when the environment around you doesn't let you stay in your bubble at times, and you just feel agitated because you don't have it in you that you can give it that much to the environment around. And try and understand that contrast in your energy now. Just before this, you were all good to go. You were all up there. There's a shift that is happening, which becomes overwhelming for us to stay with because it's a very drastic shift. This is something to be understood, not just for who's menstruating, but also for the person around. It's a very drastic shift. Try not to, I'm jumping the conversation, I think, right now. We'll come back to that later. But when you're experiencing PMS symptoms, firstly, try to be as aware of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely there are measures to work upon to manage the symptoms.
Yeah.
Let's shift the narrative from curing PMS to managing PMS here.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to cure something, one, which is natural to you.
No.
You don't want to cure because there's nothing wrong to you.
Yeah.
I will not disagree on the fact that I might have also, as a kid or a teenager, might have thought that, somebody should just take my PMS away.
Mm-hmm.
Also because we teenagers were not really introduced to whole menstrual cycle in a empathetic and
Another
lovable way.
chapter and conversation.
Empathetic and lovable way. There was a lot of shame and embarrassment attached, and it's still there. But coming back to your symptoms, so there are a few pains that you might experience. Your gut will go on a toss at times.
Mm.
This also comes from how your genetic structure has derived. So people who, their mothers, how their menstrual cycle has been, it's going to primarily define and build that foundation of how you're going to be in your menstrual phase and throughout your whole year.
Okay.
Because you're genetically designed that way. So if your mother and her mother had a lot of constipation, you'll start to experience that as well. For example, in my genetic structure, there's a lot of frequent stool issue there. It comes and it goes, but it has been there. Again, there's a very big role of your diet moderation, and your rest recovery phase that can play a big role here. Mm-hmm. Our gut is our second brain. I believe you know this already. And
yes.
I think it's very, very
big
common.
Advocate.
So what you're feeling emotionally as well, it's going to play a big role of what you're going to put in, and it's going to digest. It's like a work in itself to digest the food. You will feel cravings. You will have a lot of cravings. Some people have sweet cravings. Some people will have salty or fried food cravings. That is again coming from the hormonal shift that is happening, that very high spike in progesterone levels that is making you crave. But definitely there are measures that you can manage the craving. I don't want to negate every craving, but the moderation brings a big change. And you can have that moderation. We'll talk about how to moderate your cravings here as well. But definitely, craving becomes a great part here. Craving also comes from the point of view that you want to seek emotional support here. So if the environment around you can make you feel that, okay, I can, give you a hug and just comfort you. It just feels like somebody took like 10 kgs off my shoulder. At the same time, if the environment around you shuts away conversations, distance you, you will feel more lonely. You must have heard a lot of people feel lonely in their PMS. They just feel, oh, what am I doing with my life? I'm not good enough. All the self-doubts, all these things all the insecurity starts to arrive up.
Yeah, they really spike. For a lot of friends, I have heard that.
And if you connect in the way of pregnancy here, the mother or to-be mother wants to feel safe because it's going to bring life.
Yeah.
So safety becomes important. And we're going to talk about how you can also make somebody around you feel safe, not just physically, but also emotionally safe. Mm-hmm. And you do not have to provide solutions to everything. Support is not always equal to solutions. And we'll learn how to even support a menstruator around.
Yeah.
But the whole craving part is also the emotional craving. So you'll also see yourself craving for physical touch, craving for hugs,
massages,
snuggles, all these things.
Yeah.
Because touch is also a sign of love, affection,
warmth, safety,
everything. So you're experiencing these things because of, again, these many emotional fluctuations.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've mentioned majorly all of them. If you still face any other symptoms, one, that is not made up in your head. That is completely natural if you're feeling that. So When I say PMS, there's no fixed thing that you will have to feel. It will differ from body to body. It will differ from person to person. It will also differ from which stage of your menarche are you on, which stage of your whole womanhood are you on.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say these symptoms, it's not mandatory for any of us to feel everything. It's not mandatory to feel everything, or not even one.
Right.
You might be, a lot of people have migraines during their PMS time, and it goes away. So again, it's boiling down to same emotional and hormonal fluctuations that your body is experiencing. So let's just settle with the fact that this is not that you're creating in your head. This is not something which is a devil. It can be managed. You being more aware of your body can manage it very well. Simply.
That's right. And let me bring in a metaphor, an analogy at this point of when we talk about accepting that it is a part of the menstruating cycle, that some symptoms might come up to whatever intensity that we'll discuss later. A lot of times people think that acceptance means inaction. Like if I accept, then what will I focus? Like if I give up, I won't take care of myself. And a good visual to bring at this time is thinking of this quicksand, the daldal we talk about. So if someone is stuck in a daldal, the more we fight, the more we try to just get panicky and be like, no, I want to get out, I want to get out, I want to get out. The more we start to sink.
Yeah.
But the moment we let go, we ease or loosen our body, we tend to float up and we can escape.
Yeah.
So even though when we let go, it might seem like, oh, we have given up on escaping, it doesn't mean so. It's just about dropping the struggle, which is actually making you sink. And when you drop that struggle, you might have more energy, bandwidth, capacity to get out or deal with the situation that you're in. So it's very important to focus on that. It's the awareness, the acceptance, it matters a lot. In fact, recently, so as an individual, I experience PMS on a very mild level. My breast will become tender.
Yeah.
I would become very mildly irritable and very sensitive to touch, all of that. I will become gassy for sure, bloated and gassy. But I have another aspect of dysmenorrhea. So I was thinking on that line, which can also be applied to PMS, that how I feel like I can only take a break or a holiday when something extreme happens to me. Like I cannot get out of the pain today. Aaj to chutti leni padegi. And when I do take a chutti, I feel more relieved that, okay, I don't have to do a work because I want rest. But I don't allow myself to take a chutti before that, when I just feel the need for it. And in PMS also, I notice sometimes, like you're also saying, that there is a need to relax sometimes. But in that cycle of completing racing, we tend to forget that sometimes our body needs that rest, and you don't need to go to the extreme level to want that.
True.
Yeah.
True. And I think that boils down to a lot of people opposing period pain pills as well. Though I would not say that, you just should take your period pain pill and you should good to go. If there's an underlying condition that you can work on, definitely work on that.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of disorders where it's just too harsh and the world around you is not accommodative enough. And you might have to resort on that. So let yourself be, please. Sadly, the world around again is not very accommodative to.
I'm glad you're emphasizing that, because it's so layered. At this point, I might be in a company which allows me or understands the condition. But I see 80% of people are not. Corporates, they don't give a damn. Most ones, I don't want to again generalize. But it's so hard. We're already fighting with this glass ceiling. And then if we take a day off, suddenly someone finds a chance that, hey, see, you can't do that. Or you're not able to do that during the time of the day. So it's quite complicated, layered, intersectional, and it's sad.
That's
It's
true.
really sad. I can go back to my college time as well. I pop a pill. I'm not proud of it. On the first day of my periods, I have to take a
I
pill.
understand.
Otherwise, I faint. I can go to that extent. And during my college time, I did not have the support because I was living far away from home. And also, I did not have the support, institutional one, the understanding that, okay, if you take a day off, then what will I get? I will miss
Mm.
out on so many studies, internship, credits, X, Y, Z. And
Yes,
that is the world we're in right now. But I'm
that's
glad we have these conversations because it's one step towards that change.
true. True. And I believe if it at times you cannot be accommodated from the structural point of view,
Mhm.
which you do not have control on, you can still feel that emotional accommodation around people.
Absolutely.
That can just, I think can do the bare minimum at times,
Mhm.
if not the ideal, what should be done.
Yeah,
So there's a big role of being self-accommodative towards your bodily needs.
that's the first step.
Big role of how people around you can be accommodative and
In,
not make you feel crazy devil, crazy person, or I don't know,
indeed.
pagal, because you are not.
That is why we are having this conversation today. The labels we use as human beings, let me bring in a little structure, mental health to it. So, as human beings, we're meaning making creatures. We like to simplify things and make things convenient.
Yeah.
Labels work very well.
Hmm.
The judgment aspect that we talk about, judgments are also a way to simplify things for our brain so that we don't have to think about the same thing again. We can just be like, okay, yes, ye connect ho gaya, dimag mein done.
Hmm.
At the same time, these labels can come from a place of shame. They
Hmm.
can induce a lot of shame,
That's true.
which and you have also spoken about this, and a lot of menstruators around me have spoken about. I don't want to own these symptoms, Mehak. I really don't. It makes me feel weak.
Hmm. Hmm. I
And this
get
is,
you.
I'm being very honest with you.
Hmm.
I don't want to sugarcoat things here because I want people, listeners, to relate to it as well. Even in the most safest of my relationships, I think twice before saying that aisa ho raha.
Hmm.
My mother, she'll go on working. She'll be like, "हाँ मेरे को थोड़ा सा time दो," but she'll go on working. She won't ask for it.
Hmm.
She won't ask for help. She won't take a day off. There's so much shame attached to these symptoms that it's very difficult to just be suddenly accepting about it. It's also a process.
Definitely, and I think we as a society, uh, I would say we have, gone regressive in this
Mm-hmm.
because the ancient times, if you still go to any tribal communities in jungles, it's so natural for women to menstruate there.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is shutting her in, I don't know, 12 doors or whatever.
Yeah.
She's doing her stuff in her capacity. Nobody is shaming her. Deliver, women go in jungle to cut wood and come back with a child. It's all okay with them
Yeah.
because they are very secure in their natural form. And the whole shame part, I think it starts right away from the first period that you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
I remember everybody teaching that you should not be talking about it to any male
Yeah.
because I don't know what will happen. So I think our whole relationship has been on the foundation of shame.
Yeah.
So even if you're very, in your 20s or 30s or probably reaching your end of your menstrual cycles, you're still in that zone that it's a shameful thing and it's going to make you weak, and it's something that looked at through a very disgusting lens.
Definitely. Yeah.
I completely get your part that there are times that you don't want to feel, you don't want to experience all those things. And I think the whole troubles that you go through in your, especially your PMS time, is also reflective of how you treat your body throughout the time.
Mm-hmm.
At times, we just take our body so granted. It's gonna manage like a machine that I've just bought. It's gonna do it at your own.
Yeah.
And I think that's a sign that your body gives. the more troublesome PMS symptoms that you're getting is a sign that your body is giving that you're not taking after me, they are taking a good care of me,
Yeah.
and now you're expecting me to do everything. It's like, I always build this analogy. Your body is like the best friend that you have for your life. So think in that way. If you're not giving attention to your body and it's becoming, and the friend wants attention, what will the friend do? The friend is going to throw some cold behavior, some tantrums, will not talk very nicely, might not reply to your text at times, or this one word answers. What is this? This happens in a love relationship only, that affection relationship only.
Yeah.
It's same with your body.
And
Your
if
body
I
is
look at
showing
it, it's
tantrums.
also very direct communication that, hey, something is not working out.
And you're forgetting me.
Yeah,
So
look
it's like
after me.
a that super attention-seeking child at times. It
Or
is,
an adult, yeah.
because that's the only and the best friend that you have throughout your life. It's gonna stick around.
Yeah. So Mehak, talk to me about this. When we're saying that your body asks for something more, there's also a relative range that, okay, these symptoms are relatively okay to have, normal. And outside of this, there is something that you need to look after. A part of it is very unique. So it's not to say that this is what all the menstruators would relate to. It's also to check in with yourself, what works for your body, how intense does it feel. But as a professional, when you deal or you work with a lot of women, what is the normal range that you would describe as?
Common symptoms will be some breast tenderness. So you'll feel your breasts are getting slightly harder. Maybe the increase in size also happens. That is again coming from the hormonal change here. You might feel fatigued. You might feel heavy in your body. Some people also experience slight increase in their body weight. You might feel some gut related issue. There will be some gut related issue for sure. And I think the last thing I would say is those random pains. At times they're joint pains. They are lower back pains, as we mentioned, abdominal pains, as we mentioned. So these are a very commonly experienced ones. When I talk about something which is beyond this, which is something extra, I could say, and something alarming, I would say, at times when your gut is completely off the chart, you are unable to digest food, you are unable to do anything during the day, you're so fatigued, you're so lethargic. At times, what should I say, the mood swings are too extreme that even you know that, okay, this is not me. At times, the whole acne breakout might be too severe that it's bleeding. All these are a sign of there's a very major imbalance within. That's a very alarming imbalance within. It also boils down to your body heat. We women are generating heat in a regularized way. If it's not in sync with our lifestyle, and then in lifestyle, there's movement, there's left, there's food, there's thoughts, there's self-space, there's space for external environment to be engaged with. These are a few pillars of your routine. If your routine is not supporting the heat to be calmed down, it's going to show up. It's going to show up and manifest itself in these symptoms. So if you are having, for example, a lot of acne breakout, that's a sign again that your gut is not in good shape. You're eating something which is not suiting your body natural prakriti in Ayurveda, what we call it. In general as well. You're eating food that is not suiting your body, or you're just throwing stuff and you're cleansing yourself. If you're too fatigued, definitely you'll have to get your B12 checked and CSH, thyroid profile checked. But if that is not deficient, that means there's something wrong with your sleep, for sure. And when I say sleep, it's not how many hours you sleep. It's
The
about how you
quality.
wake up.
How you wake up. Okay.
How fresh do you wake up? And do you have a time that you're waking up? If you're waking up randomly, nature doesn't wake up randomly. So can you not? We are a part of nature. We have to be, you'll feel very at equilibrium when you have a cycle which is in sync with the nature around you. And when I say this, I also say this, but if you're in your any kind of demographical location, if giving a very raw example, if you're in the mountains, if you start consuming all the fermented food which is not grown there, which cannot be there, your gut is not going to accept it. You'll have a lot of acid reflux, because that is not meant for that environment, for that weather, for that geography. At the same time, that will have a lot of fat. The diet there will have a lot of fat, because you are supposed to do a lot of strenuous activity to climb and reach places. So you'll have a lot of fat, good fat away, and obviously very high dependence on meat or protein there, because your body needs that.
Yeah.
So all in all, there are a lot of symptoms which will go off for you, and that severity is a sign for you to start jotting down what exactly is happening. Be as specific and try and connect with somebody who knows how to manage lifestyle better. When I say this, I don't want you to get a prescription and get to go with that.
Yeah.
Because that's again relying on external source to help you understand what you, external source just giving you a prescription, just follow it, don't think. Always understand and analyze if it's matching with your emotional response or not. This is the first thing I say to every person who comes to me. Do not include a lot of changes right away, because that will overwhelm you. Secondly, accept the change emotionally first and then go ahead with it. So if you want to wake up early, if you don't feel that you want to wake up early, there's no point of forcing yourself for 10 alarms. You'll give up within 10 days. You need to emotionally align with the change to let it stay sustainably.
Yeah.
This is the only key for any change to stay with you. Else you'll keep jumping from one coach to other, one diet plan to other diet plan, workout plan to other workout plan. You'll keep jumping, and that's a very common pattern.
Agreed.
Okay, let me try intermittent fasting. Oh, that's a different conversation in itself.
Yeah.
Which lacks. If you go down to the data, women are not researched, and half of the PCOS people are recommended intermittent fasting that comes to me. I had a student there. I really remember, she could not do. One day she gave up. She's like, I can't move myself because I'm so tired. I'm like, why are you doing intermittent fasting? She's like, my nutritionist said that. I'm like, you can't. Please don't subject yourself to things that your body is rejecting right away.
Meg, I hear you. And the changes we talk about are generally surrounding the goals.
Yeah.
Very important component that I notice in my practice also being missed out by clients is the focus on values. So if the goals exist in the absence or lack of alignment with values, they fall off very quickly or off.
Okay.
So when you say that emotional alignment needs to be present, I also invite all the listeners to think about what their values are. Because if the values are in place, if you're dedicated towards a larger value, even if you fall off, you would want to get back on. It's not the end of the world, because you know your ultimate goal was to say, be healthy. I'm taking a very general one.
Yeah.
But if your goal is to reduce 10 kgs or to get into a particular dress, if you fall off, you'll be demotivated. Where will you get that will and motivation? Kahin pet pe thodi na ugta hai ye sab. It needs to be cultivated.
That's true.
Thinking about your values, reflecting with it, I always invite my clients to sit, take 50 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever, and actually make a plan of what are their values in general, what values are important to them in the present time for the coming month or the coming year. And then you start noticing how you just want to do things that are healthier for you. You start to
That's
listen
true.
to your body.
That's true.
So thank you for bringing in the element of aligning emotionally with all of these changes, and looking goals are important, and they're even more effective when they're aligned with goals. Values.
That's true.
And on that note, I want to ask you about now the yogic perspective of why some people struggle more with these intense symptoms as compared to others. What's going on in the body, mind, soul, all of that?
I think the approach itself needs to be very holistic here, because what I am also observing, especially on social media, is like people are suggesting like 5 asanas to deal with everything, and I don't know, they're gonna magically heal everything like that.
Yeah.
That doesn't work, because we are living in a world that we want instant solutions and we want to do the bare minimum. It becomes like a good clickbait here. But I think when you rise above from figuring out the bare minimum and the shortcuts and the quick fixes, is when the change actually starts to happen. I have seen in my practice, I have seen people who have actually aligned with something which they want sustainable, they don't want instant fixes. That brings a big peace and consistency in who you are, how you are, and how you're conducting yourself. Coming back to why are people experiencing all those things? There's definitely a big role here of how you have been conditioned since your childhood. A lot of us, I want to refer here to one of the Vayus in our body. So breaking it in a very raw way, think of your body having 5 kinds of flow of air. And when I say air, it doesn't have to be like a proper air that it releases. It's like a flow that is there in our body. One of the very important Vayus in our body is Apana Vayu here. Apana Vayu is majorly responsible for the release and cleansing. It's connected with your part below your navel and the whole lower body. So if you see the very important organs there are your urinary bladder, your anus, your rectum, and obviously your vagina and your organ which menstruates. So what is the primary function of all these organs? To release. There has to be a release. Something has to come out. And it's just not the physical. It's also coming to the emotional part. Giving a very raw example, people who have chronic constipation, they'll feel always weighed down. They'll feel lazy. It's very hard for them to do stuff. They'll feel monotony. They'll feel bored a lot of times, because that release is very, very connected to how you feel it. Same comes down to your uterus and the work of your reproductive organs. People experiencing a lot of times, especially I've seen in PCOS women, having PCOS is now being understood from the psychological and neurological aspect. There is a very big connection of you being not able to feel safe, and you could not let go of anything in your past, and you just close your legs and you just tied yourself. And it can be any situation as well, where you felt like, oh, I can't be here because the environment around me is not letting me be. So let me just close myself. Let me just switch off my emotional response. Let me just detach, and the frequency at which these kind of events keep happening lead to the energy being stuck there. It could
Below
not
the
release.
belly button you're talking.
Below the belly button. It can be, there are a lot of times when you are keeping the hurt, the trauma in your uterus and you are unaware of it. You're just carrying that baggage for no reason. It stays there. There is also something called, I'm not suggesting that everything will result into something which is very severe with you. I'm suggesting things that you can look upon.
Yeah.
And this goes for all of our listeners, that things that you can reflect upon, that were there times that I wanted to relax and I could not relax? Were there times when I felt like I had to protect myself? So I put on the survival mode and I just held that backpack too long. I could not feel nurtured. So I just started nurturing myself. There's a very high connection with your masculinity, and you start to attach weakness with your femininity. It boils down to these aspects as well. So when the yogic perspective has to say about these things, I believe it has to be a combination of movement, a combination of how your emotions flow and the journey of your emotions, and also boiling down to being reflective and working on unburdening and unconditioning yourself from many things.
Is it okay if we can go back to Apana Vayu a little more? Because
Definitely.
It's a relatively new concept, I'm sure, for a lot of people. So elaborate that a little more.
So Apana Vayu, if you just take it in a very physical way, there's a downward flow. Your urine flows downward, your menstrual blood flows downward, everything flows downward. So that energy, that air movement is downward. Secondly, it works with a combination to the Prana Vayu. So I want to go back to this this very debatable topic of, women can enter a sacred space or a religious space or not in their menstrual cycle or not. Definitely, there's nobody stopping you. What the ancient Eastern, and I would say Indian practice, and I think even the Chinese tradition are very similar to ours. What are they saying here? They didn't stop them because they didn't stop women because they didn't deserve, or they were unfit, or they were unhealthy or dirty at this point of time. They stopped them majorly because of the spiritual aspect and the flow of energy aspect here. Understand, when you're menstruating, there's a downward flow actively happening. There's no fixed time when you'll have the blood. There's no fixed time when you don't have the blood. It's going to keep going. And it's very uncontrolled. It's very, it happens at its own. So there's nothing that you can do to stop it or control it apart from external stimulus.
Yeah.
So your Apana Vayu is really active that time. I'm not saying it's not active other times of the day or other times of your year. It is, but it's very, very active at that time. So that downward flow is very active. There's a downward flow that cleanses, and there's a prana vayu that goes up. So that uplifts you, that helps you to connect more on the other chakras as well. You feel, you're connecting more in the spiritual self, and that flow is going up. So in a very raw sense, we call the positive energy rises up. We are also referring to this flow of energy. So when you're entering a space which is having a high vibration in a way, the words, the chants are believed to have a very high impact. If you have seen people affirming even the water before they're drinking,
yeah,
it's the word. It's boiling down to words, which in our ancient times, it's a mantra. There were words. So a sacred space like a temple or anything where there are n number of chants going on, n number of throughout the day, even the walls and every the structural aspect of it is very upward pushing, and your energy is pushing very upward. It sort of impacts that push and pull flow of your Apana Vayu. So it's not that you are not supposed to enter, you cannot or you don't deserve to enter the temple space. It's coming down for your own Apana Vayu to naturally keep flowing, so that flow is not hampered. And I would want to specify this, that none of the practices wanted you to stop your sadhana. And when I say sadhana, it can be of any kind of religious belief. None of the communities, especially I would say in Indian communities, nobody wanted a woman to not practice sadhana any time of the year. They just wanted to be safe, it to be safe enough that it doesn't hamper their natural flow. So if they stopped or they wanted women to not enter that space, they were still encouraged to practice sadhana in their own bubble, in their own space. And the practice itself becomes different. That also changes in your different phases.
Right.
So when I say Apana Vayu, it's a very primal force and that flow that is there within all of us.
Yeah.
And when I say you might be having some disorder, there's some hormonal imbalance flow there, everything, it's very connected to you being not able to release when you wanted to, or in the present you're not able to release.
Yeah, and which might be present even outside or beyond the PMS time of the month. Generally not being able to release. So the Apana Vayu that is there, you're saying that people who have who struggle with PMS a little more intensely than others, there is an imbalance in Apana Vayu.
You might have to start working on your ability to release in some way.
Yeah.
The physical aspect is, your urine and everything is going in a good color, you're hydrating enough, your gut is going good, so the feces are going in a good shape, all those things. These are the physical manifestations.
Yeah.
Definitely these need to be taken care of. But there's also a emotional manifestation of everything.
There most definitely is. This hypothesis has been in my mind for such a long time that physical constipation, I have noticed in a lot of people who have mental constipation as well, not being able to let go of what's needed at a point to be let go.
They'll feel stuck at a lot of times.
Yeah.
A lot of times even brain fog happens. So everything is interconnected. That's the reason I say our bodies are a union.
True.
And sadly, as you mentioned before, especially the Western medical science looks everything like a dissectory way. So this is different. Your progesterone is different. Your uterus is different. That's the reason they are falling short of the understanding.
Yeah, isolating variables is okay. They need to do research. At the same time, the body is such a beautiful, multi-layered system.
And very intelligently designed, that we humans are still understanding it. So that is quite there. I hope I've answered the Apana Vayu word.
Yeah, and I was reading how Apana Vayu, when we look at the 5 elements of fire, earth, space, air, and what did I miss?
Water.
And water. 5 ones. Apana Vayu is mostly a combination of air and earth, is it?
Yeah. Primarily earth as well. Because air, because there's a flow happening. Earth, because you want to ground yourself. So again, for people who do not feel grounded, and when I say grounded, it's not just you being humble. It's also that you're not stable.
Yeah, like sort of I don't want to use a clinical term, so just being conscious for everyone I'm putting out there, sort of dissociation from the body that happens, or distancing. A lot of people don't feel within their bodies.
Definitely.
Zoned out.
And also emotional stability for that matter. And when I say emotional stability, we do not want to equate it to feeling happy. That's not emotional stability.
Yeah, I agree, and I can talk for 3 hours on that. Our addiction to happiness.
So emotional stability is that you are in awareness and mildly capable of understanding everything that is going within. And if there's something troublesome, you can still stay with it. That is stability.
Yeah.
In a very raw sense.
Mm-hmm.
Coming back to people having extreme symptoms and how yoga wants us to start working on those things. So there's a definitely movement, and I would suggest hatha initially for person who's beginning off and all those things. Why hatha? I've been an Ashtanga practitioner in past as well, and I sort of distanced myself from Ashtanga because, and that's also people in, especially the West, are experiencing now. Women are missing the cycles.
Missing the cycles.
Oh, for sure. Ashtanga practitioners are not getting cycles on their regular time, all of a sudden. Because also US practices a lot of Ashtanga, and sooner or later they'll have tons of injuries because of that. And because the practice is not done in a safe way.
Yeah.
But Ashtanga, I'm not blaming Ashtanga for anything. There has to be a balance. Yoga is all about bringing that balance in your practice as well. If we overdo something, it's going to show its result. So if you do a lot of heated practice just to burn calories, lose inches, lose weight quickly,
cardio.
Firstly, let's settle with the thought that more sweat is not equivalent to you losing more weight. Sweat is a mechanism of your body to maintain body temperature only. I, in my teaching practice, hardly make people run, jump, and all those things now. I've left completely because I don't see a point of that. You can stay in an asana, feel that connection with the mat, with the earth, and still feel yourself in line with some posture and stay for minutes. That's going to bring so many layering of the emotions that is, I think, more magical than staying in something which is, making you feel anxious or breathless and all those things.
Yeah, and like you are beautifully using the word moderation here as well. That again, I don't, because I am not a professional, so I won't comment. But what I have picked up for myself is that maybe if I'm exercising 5 days a week, one day I would do cardio, that too moderate cardio. And that is fine for me. If I do more than that, I start to feel spaced out. I start to feel dizzy, like my body will not like it. I will feel drained rather than energized after a workout.
That's true. And I think we will slowly transition to that. Right now, we are at a space where we want variety.
Absolutely, yeah. So again,
definitely that's okay. If you are somebody who feels, definitely.
It also depends on which, like we're talking about phases of life, at the same time, spiritual aspect. Which phase of spiritual journey are you in? So that I will be drawn towards different aspects. And I know if you ask me these questions about 3 years, 4 years back, I was like, full cardio, let's go spinning, let's do this, let's do running. But now I know I am not. My body is not resonating with that. And probably as I go ahead, things might change in whatever direction for me as well. Yeah,
that's there. I think everybody will have that journey. Everybody will have that journey, and there's nothing wrong in it. Definitely, you should be subjecting yourself to different things so that you can understand what's your thing as you learn through your journey. That makes you feel more powered in what you're doing then, rather than people telling you, okay, you should be doing this because you have this. Again, that prescription thing has to be gone down.
Yeah.
You can't keep taking prescription for everything that you're gonna do in your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's something we can learn.
So when we talk about Apana Vayu itself, and we talk about the air and the earth element of it, do PMS symptoms occur because one of those are more than the other, or how does it operate?
So we are not looking through one of the vayus when it comes to PMS, because the manifestation is happening all across the body.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, Apana Vayu will play a big role here. It will play a big role here. But when it comes to PMS, there has to be a lot more to be, brought into the plate for us to understand. We talked about the release part. We talked about how we perceive our body and our connection with the body. Again, that comes in how are we dealing with life? How are we staying in our life? People who are very prone to anxiety, people who are very, very conscious about themselves, and it also boils down to you being body conscious, you being not comfortable in your skin, you being not appreciative enough in how you are, and a lot many other things. A lot of people, I have seen people literally throwing any kind of food to your body, thinking that it'll digest because it's a dustbin, I guess. If you stay with these things, body's going to show up with severe symptoms, I feel. Your body is not designed to be treated like that, and that narrative has to be changed. So when it comes to PMS, it's much beyond any of the vayus, because firstly it's connected with everything. Even your heart center is very connected. You are feeling way too emotional at times, and you're not feeling at all any heavy emotions. Probably in your follicular phase, when you're in your springtime, you're not feeling very heavy emotions until unless there's some happening in your environment. And when you are PMSing, you feel all the sorts of, you're lonely, you're not worth it, all those things. Self-doubt comes in. So there's a big fluctuation there also happening. Your digestion is also changing. You aligning with something, what should I say? Something challenging in terms of your spiritual journey will also be different. You might be wanting to do that in your first phase, not much in your last phases. So it's a very complex situation in PMS, and there's a big role of genetics here. So when it comes to PMS, I believe more than what should I say?
Mehak, can I pause you for a second? Sure. So even when we talk about genetics, we now know there is a concept of transgenerational trauma.
I was one, yeah.
Yeah. Because if I think about my mother, she also said that before she had me, her firstborn, she used to have intense pain during the first day. And the similar symptoms that I experienced.
Yeah.
And when I think about it, I was thinking about the history as well, that how a lot of trauma also changes the genetic makeup, which can be inherited.
That's true.
Sometimes when we use words like genetic, people tend to assume that it's out of my scope. But it's not. Like, the mind is a freaking powerful thing that we have that can really modify even our genes.
That's true.
It requires a lot of work, not denying that.
I think if I have to just break it down for our listeners to understand what Soumya is also referring here. So let's come back to slight anatomy here. So imagine you being in your mother's womb. You were there any which way, even if the egg was not fertilized in the form of egg. Yes. So you were born in your mother's body when she was an infant, because we all are born with the egg. We don't create eggs after we are born. Yes. So we know this much, that we were there in our mother's uterus the moment she was born, because
so
she
you're
had
talking
eggs.
more okay, on spiritual aspect. Okay,
I'm going to refer to that now, because we can't understand how the connection is coming.
Yeah.
Then let's go back more when your mother was in her mother's womb. So as a fetus, she was there, and you being in the egg form were there in your nani's womb as well.
Yeah.
So this is the connection that you might be having, and you are already having with your mother and her mother.
That's such a
Whatever
powerful way to describe it. Wow. Yeah.
That's one of the reasons a lot of people will feel, the love from your nani is much more than your mother's, because she knows you much more, way more than your mother had got in her senses. So coming down to how the life experiences got hardwired in a very cellular level for you. Your nani was in her, what should I say, pregnancy, and whatever she went through, whatever trauma she went through, whatever love in the most raw form she got, that makes up the very cellular foundation for you as well. Your mother, in her whole life, because you stayed as an egg form with her, you have seen and experienced that on a very cellular level. Definitely in her pregnancy, it amplifies a lot because you're more than a cell then.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a span of 50 or 60 years that we are seeing, that you have already experienced as a cell.
Yeah.
Before you're born. And all the trauma that has been there in this 50-year span has stayed in some way. So in terms of unconditioning, healing, or what should I say, coming out of the baggages, it's just not your life up till now.
Yeah.
And as you rightly said, there are a lot of things that you could not have controlled, or they are coming from the genetic aspect. So you feel that there's no power. Definitely you have the power. You have the power of letting go. We had a very beautiful workshop last month that we connected with the womb space, and we, all of us, consciously released that if there was some hurt that those women were carrying, I have that empathy for them, and I want to let it go, and I want to be grateful for them providing me that safe space. And at the same time, I don't want to blame them for everything that came to me, because they felt it. So that connection, that feeling of gratitude, and that release that I am forgiving anything that came to me at that time, when anytime, like I was in a mother's womb or before that, that brings a lot of change in how you're perceiving yourself on a very primal way, on a very, very, I would say, time when you were not even aware about yourself. That brings that change. That brings that starts the healing in a very, very, I would say, deeper level.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm hearing so much scope for self-work when it comes to PMS as well. We're talking about PMS right now. I'm sure there are ripples that all of these practices create. And while we're talking about it, I want to hear more. I'm sure, Mehak, that even if we talk for 2-3 more hours, it won't do justice to the wisdom that is present in you. And yet to be mindful of this space and the scope to which we can cover aspects. So there are time limitations, of course, as well. For anyone who wants to know more, I would highly suggest talking to Mehak or doing their self-work or reaching out to professionals they resonate with. But for today, I want to talk more about these changes and self-work that you're talking about. What can we do? How can we create this internal and external space to support ourselves? during PMS?
I think when it comes to change, I want to divide it into two parties. Firstly, I want to refer to people who are having the first experience of it. So all the menstruators out there. Firstly, please get connected to your body and start reading your signs. And there are a lot of ways you can do basal body temperature monitoring, you can do mucus monitoring, a lot of different ways through which you can understand which part of your cycle you're on. That's not going to solve everything. Let's understand that. That's going to bring that awareness that what kind of emotional fluctuations you're going to go through, and you're not going to resist that. So if you are having cravings, you're going to not demonize yourself for having cravings. If you are feeling emotionally very stable and secure and having a lot of energy, you will not feel, okay, I was energetic yesterday, why am I not today? So you're not going to be critical about yourself in that way. These are a few examples. There will be more things that are going to happen. So start understanding the signs of your body. Secondly, please indulge into any movement. I think I say this every time. And the primary reason why I'm saying this, we as human species have not really evolved from the time when we were hunters and gatherers. We have not evolved very much from it. We are still that species which will hunt, walk for hours, do some physical labor, cut the food and make it, cook it for hours, eat it, and then rest and digest and everything. We still are that species. So we are primarily designed to move. Please move any which way. You want to walk, you want to run, you want to do gymming, you want to do yoga, anything. Apart from physically training your body, having a light walk is very, very effective. Not just for your physical self, but also to let your emotions flow.
Yeah.
Try not to have a call with somebody when you're walking. That is, again, a constant release. You're just giving to the world, you're not able to receive anything. Then you end up feeling lost. Have a space where you can just be by yourself. Even if that seems scary, stay. That's going to make you realize a lot many things that you can work on. Next up is to have some good routine, any which way. Sit with yourself. I don't want to prescribe any ideal way. Okay, wake up at this time, sleep at this time. No. Eat up at this time. No. See what works with your workspace, with your personal life and your commitments. Think in that direction. If you suddenly had an injury, you will make time for everything in your life. Why to wait for an injury? Why to wait for a medical emergency to happen so that you can work on your body? Let's change our way to not wait for emergencies. Work prior. Why? Also, you as a woman will go through a lot of changes on hormonal level that will impact your physical level, mental level every 5 years in your menarche. That's how you're designed.
Okay.
You reach your puberty, after your 18, 19, you'll have a big shift. After your 25, big shift. After 30, 35, big shift. There's a shift there. Your body in its constitution is going to start changing. There's nothing that can reverse it, that can stop it, halt it. So stop wasting your energy on that. Start investing into your body being healthier in 5 years down the line. For that, work today. Definitely, yoga practice has proven to make your symptoms go very mild. It becomes so easy to manage. But that needs time, consistency and good practice. Good practice, I mean safe practice. I don't want you to keep practicing headstands every day. That's not what yoga wants you to do. Have a stable, balanced practice. When you start doing what gym is doing, then you're not doing yoga. So choose what you want to do. What I have seen, I've always done the traditional way of yoga that always brings me back to the mat every other day, and I feel stabilized when I leave the mat. Start having somebody to guide you, because that can help you much help you progress in a better way than having something doing randomly.
Yeah.
Lastly, as I said before, your gut is a second brain. Please stop treating your stomach like a dustbin. It has the wisdom to help you be as creative, innovative as you want to be. You will feel the difference. And I'm not saying start having salads. I don't mean that.
Yeah, let's not.
I mean a balanced diet which is nutrient rich, which has been cooked fresh. And I don't mean that you should keep cooking every hour. No. I mean every ingredient is cooked with love, not hatred, not ill emotion, all the bad emotions that's going to transfer to your food. Whatever you're having, however you're having, that's your choice. So these are a few things I want everybody to work upon. PMS management will take some time, but once you start having a milder symptom and a healthier period cycle, by healthier I mean there are not what should I say? Obviously, there are disorders like PCOS when you're not able to control periods, you're not able to get periods, you're not you have to take medications to stop periods at time. There's endometriosis when there's excessive pain and bleeding. Everything, these disorders will definitely take much more time and much more effort. But even if you don't have these things, please let's not wait for these things.
Yeah, let's not take the body for granted.
I am seeing so many women around. They're like, I don't have PCOS right now, so I don't have to work or anything about my body. I'm good to go. I'm like, okay, every second woman is having PCOS. Even if you are not showing up symptoms, you might be having. And why to wait for something to be clinically diagnosed for you to start working on self? So again, focusing on the point, let's not wait for any emergency to happen. So these are a few things that you can work on. Lastly, be comfortable and please accept yourself. If you have a bloated abdomen, because there's a uterus there, stop equating your lower abdomen to our abdomen, please. They don't have a uterus there. I call it like a wisdom pouch there. You have a lower belly fat, it's a wisdom pouch. It's born with such powerful things that I'm sorry to say that men don't have it. They don't have a regularized cleansing mechanism in their body. We have it. You release every month, not just blood, a lot of emotional stuff. So your body is very intelligent. Please respect every process. Stop being ashamed of it. Take the charge of what you're feeling and, if possible, act on it in a more empathetic and lovable way. That's going to make so much of that. That's going to bring so much of peace within that you're going to stop fighting from your body. Start working together with your body. That's something we can, I think, start aligning ourselves. Definitely, there's work of body image that has to be done. Definitely, there's a lot of work of connecting with your femininity that has to be done. And when I say femininity, I don't wish to say that, if you're recognizing yourself at any of the gender, it doesn't mean that you want to be more feminine or you want to be as a woman. Connecting with your feminine is very different than recognizing yourself with any of the genders.
Yeah.
This is something I think we should be okay with that. Lastly, for the people who are around menstruators, please stop demonizing or demeaning or making fun of women or menstruators, whatever they're going through. You don't have the experience, so you don't know it. As Rachel and Sam said, that you just no opinion. So please don't throw your, I don't know, scientific opinions that even you are not really aware of. So
and to the people who menstruate, please start looking at this internalization that has happened, and we also end up making fun of ourselves and our.
You don't have to. You don't have to make fun. It's a natural process. Please be also a support to anybody around you who's menstruating. That I get you. It's tough. Let me comfort you in whatever way you want me to.
Exactly. I mean, when Rachel said no uterus, no opinion, I would let's just say that no uterus, more respect, please. More
Definitely.
acknowledgement. If
I
you
know
really
sympathy.
want to be, yeah, more all of that, be more understanding because we are going to coexist. It can be
Definitely.
your partner, your family member, your cousin, sibling, whoever. Different sexes, biologically different people will coexist. And it's about time we start making these spaces safe for each other.
Definitely. Stop giving, firstly, uninvited solutions. It's something I would say to
Yeah.
everybody.
Very, very important. Unsolicited. Just remember the level of relationship, the bond that you share with the person.
And please take consent before that. Do you
Yeah.
want solutions from my end? If the person says yes, then please give it.
Yeah, a very slight shift and a very easy one is instead of if you notice someone displaying some behaviors or characteristics that are unusual, instead of saying, oh, is it that time of the month? Oh, acha, are you PMSing? You can just check in what's happening.
Yes.
It's not a
Sure.
big shift. Just check in what's happening. If they want, they will share. If they don't want, back the hell off.
True.
And
True.
remember, I also, I'm intervening there, Mehak. A lot of times,
Okay.
non-menstruators think that women will explain everything.
Oh God.
They don't hold the responsibility to educate
That's
everyone.
like asking for 2 times emotional labor.
Yeah. So sometimes women, menstruators might be willing to talk about it, explain that. All right. If not, that is what we're making this podcast for. Listen to it.
Please, yeah. If you can read, I don't know, tons of books, and let me
Yeah,
not go there what
books.
the
If you
content,
don't
the
want to
use is.
invest that much
Yeah.
time, there are articles, there are YouTube videos, there are podcasts. Just educate yourself.
High
Do
time.
not rely, no one is your teacher or a designated teacher. Do not expect someone else to always educate you. If there's someone, a menstruator in your life, just go ahead and take some initiative. They will really
Yeah.
appreciate it. And this is not to blame or shame non-menstruators who haven't done that. It's just, it will be really nice. You know, as a menstruator, I can say it will be really nice if you do. It's not to say that you will not make mistakes. I, as a menstruator, make mistakes about my experiences sometimes. So that is fine. But you taking initiative matters. You making that slight shift from, hey, you're PMSing, to being like, what's happening? Is there something I can do? Or is there something you
Definitely.
want me to do? You can
And
use all
and
of those
just at
approaches.
times being, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but at times being just a listener.
Yeah.
Just a listener. And you can set boundaries. This brings me to the next point, that please mention about your boundaries as well, that okay, I want to be supportive, but this is all that I can offer given what's happening in my life.
That's a lovely point because I noticed that during this PMS phase, I get sensitive to touch. So if I'm not in that phase, if my partner comes up from behind and hugs me or touches me, I would be very happy. But during that phase, I get really irritable. Like, what did you do to me? I get into the panic zone. So I told him that, listen, it's fine. But during this time, I would want you to give me a heads up when you're coming towards me so that I can prepare myself. And it's not like give me a written email or something. It is like, hey, I'm here or something like that. That is what works for me.
Definitely. And I feel that also brings me to the next point. Physical touch is something that you can explore with. As you said, there's a very big difference in physical touch demanding that love back. And there's a different touch where you're just receiving. At times, women want to just receive and not give, as the thing is going. So somebody is just giving you a hug that, I'm here for you. That's it. You are not expected to give back.
Also, Mehak, this is something for men, non-menstruators and menstruators as well, because as women, we tend to feel very
Obliged.
obliged to give back. We're givers, we're nurturers. It's
Yeah.
okay for you to receive.
Yeah. It's completely okay for you to receive, and you don't have to equate it with anything else. And if, as I always say, if love comes towards you, accept it. Try not to be critical. Try not to be judgmental as to why me, how me, should I do, what do I need next. Let the love flow towards you in any which way, even if it's for a physical touch. A lot of women want to be touched at this time.
Yeah.
Definitely, there are few people who feel a lot of sexual urges. That's coming primarily because you want to feel safe in some way. You want to feel seen, heard, or at times felt in some ways. So completely up to you. Being a menstruator, what you want, and being a non-menstruator, that you know, if the other person is going through something, if the other person cannot articulate, okay, I want this, it's completely fine. You can just hold hand and just say, I'm here in whatever way you want me to be. That is comforting.
Yeah, just giving that reassurance that you're here whenever,
Very needed.
however,
Very needed.
as much as, yeah.
So explore the kind of touch that you can have. If not, the touch is working, please exist. Don't vanish. Don't abandon. Don't shut the conversation, thinking that the woman is going crazy.
Yeah.
And you do not, you are not receiving the usual response that you expect her to give.
Yeah.
She's not her usual. She cannot be her usual. There are different usuals for her. So stop having a fixed image of how she's going to respond. And if she doesn't respond that way, that means she's bad or she's some other person. You will talk to her some other time. If the conversation is becoming tough, if the communication is becoming tough, communicate still as how can we manage it.
Yeah.
There are ways that you can manage your communication. I do not agree to abandoning women. That is not a healthy way. A woman feels all the more lonely. She'll all the more feel self-doubted and all those things. And she'll feel that the environment is not supportive in her to flow.
Yeah.
And that again will create a lot of problems in her space, in her womb space.
Absolutely. In addition to all of these things, I think therapy is always a good addition.
For sure.
Because all of these emotional underpinnings that we're talking about, the trauma, the psychological, mental impacts or manifestations, it's good to explore those things. Nothing is a standalone, nothing will work in itself, like in isolation we talk about. So if you bring these elements together, they will just help you more and more. So strike your own balance in life, figure out what works for you. Like Mehak, as we're also starting to wrap up, I'm hearing that you're talking about first understanding yourself, what's going on, when it's going on. Moving on to building a sense of acceptance that these are the things that I cannot match someone who's born as a biological man.
True.
Very different, and these differences come with the biological aspects. And you also mentioned how movement is very important. We're designed to move, but we somehow got stuck in a chair. So of course the body takes the impact of it. It's especially the lower part, upper body, we can also move a little, we can do some stretches, but there's a lot of stagnancy that gets created in the pelvic region, hip, thighs, lower abdomen. Of course, routine is very, very important. We can, another conversation, the circadian rhythms, the cycles that work with. It's important for our bodies to have a sense of predictability. It does not have a rational part which will tell you that आज मैंने party करी है, so मैं नहीं ऐसे करने वाले या whatever. It works on routines. We thrive on certain habits and routines. So make a routine that works for you. Take care of your gut. Very, very important. Your second brain cannot talk enough. If someone wants to know the science behind it, go research about vagus nerve. Maybe we do another episode on it,
True.
but for now, you can go ahead and do that. Seek therapy, seek support for yourself.
Definitely.
In today's time, when there is so much going on, we can all use some extra support. And for that, I have experienced yoga, so I know how much it can help. While all of these tips and tricks, they can go a long way. Yeah. While all of these tips and tricks can go a long way, you are a unique person. And it's great if you can seek out support from professionals, be a mental health professional like me, or a yoga practitioner and a teacher like Mehak. I mean, कुछ तो करा ही है हमने जो 2-3 बातें पता है. So you can come in and you can seek the support that you want on those lines. I have personally experienced it, that how much I changed my relationship with my body, or even some physical symptoms that I was noticing within the realm of menstruation and outside of it. So please go ahead, explore all of these things if you want. I know also in this 21st century, it can seem like a privilege that we have to do 10 things and then we have to go for therapy and then we have to go for yoga, all of that. It's not a one-stop shop, or it's not even a cold turkey change like Mehak already has said. You do not have to change 100% at one go. Start thinking about it. Let this conversation be a tiny seed that is planted in your mind. Even that seed will take its own sweet time to sprout. It will become a little tiny sapling first and then grow. Similarly, the changes that you implement in your life will also go the same way. Start looking for avenues that you want to focus on. And we're always here.
True. And right, because we are living in the world which is full of accessibility, you can get things in just one touch. Make use of that great power.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. When we crib about all of these things, that there is so much, there's also a good side. There is so much, you can access it. All right. Of course, Mehak, it's always a pleasure talking about these things. I feel so alive right now. And I feel very curious as well. But I want to thank you for contributing your time, energy, and your knowledge and wisdom today. I have definitely benefited a lot from this conversation. I'm starting to think some of these aspects, how my sprout might come out from this seed. So thank you for coming here. And I'm glad we could have this conversation, especially on Yoga Day and the month of yoga. Every month is a yoga month, but now that we're celebrating it in the month of June.
I'm actually really glad that we had this conversation, not just in a yoga month or a yoga day, but also a Pride month where we are valuing every kind of identity and understanding ourselves, not just from the physical level, but also on much more beyond that.
Yeah.
So I hope all of us who heard our conversations could just take at least 1% from it and start thinking on what you can do today.
True. Even from this conversation, you can just think about the 2 things that you want to start doing or start looking at.
Definitely. And that's going to bring change. Every change starts small, as you all know.
Yeah,
so
of
take
course.
that step.
We spoke about so many things. I, for sure, possibly can't start implementing everything in one go. So it's good to be realistic and start small, start what you can do. So for me, actually, let me just put it out there for the sake of accountability that will be built, that I will be more conscious of the words and the verbal ones that come out and the thought level that goes on when I do experience certain symptoms during my menstrual cycle. And I want to be more observant of what goes on in my body. Like you said, to the level of the mucus or the body temperature, I have not thought about it. So I want to start doing that. Those are my 2 things. And for all the listeners, make a note of those 2 things. Let's see how that seed sprouts in your own life.
And you'll have a beautiful relationship, I feel. Up till now, you might be having tons of conditioning about everything about yourself and your body. Let's change that, and you have
Let's
the power.
unlearn. Let's start unlearning.
Definitely, and it's a beautiful journey. It's a beautiful journey to
is,
be a woman
it
and
is.
a menstruator, I feel.
And it's been a beautiful conversation as well, Mehak. Thank you again. So let me ask you, for all our viewers, for all our listeners, what services are you providing as of now, and where can they reach out to you?
So I'm majorly teaching virtually right now. So you can connect with me with any of my virtual programs, which is running since 2020, where I met Soumya as well. So the Women's Fitness Program happens every month. The next month, the month of July, we'll begin the cycle for the group sessions. If you feel like having something personalized and customized for yourself with respect to your body ailments and problems, we can have a personalized session as well. Apart from that, I'm also taking currently in Delhi some healing and movement based workshops where we are exploring not just movement from the perspective of fitness. I think fitness is the last thing from that workshop, that is more on the lines of healing and unburdening yourself from different ways, different aspects. And what can you bring in your daily, in your regular yoga practice that can help you feel more connected and grounded? So we have yin yoga sessions, we have meditation sessions, we have many things. Every weekend on Sunday, we explore something new. So that is something that is happening in Delhi as of now. If you feel like connecting back to me, you can reach me on Instagram, my website, and my WhatsApp, anything. I think the links will be shared right here. Yes. That's about me. And I'm really grateful for this beautiful conversation. I'm hoping to reach much more through this medium to many other people, not just menstruators, but also others who want to they have that alignment to be more, I would say, inclusive and empathetic, but probably need some nudging and some direction how to do about it. So I believe we can give that direction through this conversation to them, and it has been great to have this beautiful conversation with you.
Likewise, Mehak. I highly recommend everyone to follow Mehak on Instagram. The workshops are mostly posted there, and some of the workshops that have recently come on, I read the description and they're truly inspired. So do go ahead. If you're in Delhi, take an offline session, or you want to consult online, I can very freely, within a blink of an eye, endorse Mehak's work. So go ahead, do that. And always remember, these conversations are not a substitute for professional support. So keep that in mind while you listen to it. Thank you, Mehak.
Thank you so much.
It's been lovely.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you found this episode helpful. If you feel this will help someone else as well, do share it with them. And don't forget to follow the podcast for more updates. Thank you.